Good morning, everyone. Kate and Fiona here, continuing our conversation around this year's International Women's Day theme, Choose to Challenge. And today, Fiona, we're talking about how to challenge with confidence.
Yes, all month we've been exploring this whole theme, International Women's Day theme of Choose to Challenge. And it's a great theme and we like it, but we also know that a lot of people really struggle with how to challenge effectively. How do I challenge so that it lands well? How do I challenge so that the message is received? And we like to start with making sure that you're really clear, that you've got clarity about what it is that you want to say, what you're picking up on, the behavior you think is either not acceptable, the behavior you'd like to see more of, or whatever area of the business you need to challenge into, what it is you'd like to be different, and then, of course, why. If you give people a good reason why, they're far more likely to listen and to be receptive to the ideas that we're sharing with them.
Yeah, I think that piece of, what needs to be different, really digging into and getting clarity over the specific changes that need to happen. And we love Brené's work here, right? Clear is kind, unclear is unkind. So I think before you open your mouth, what's really powerful is to think about, okay, what is it that I'm seeking? What's the outcome I'm seeking to achieve here specifically, so that you can navigate towards that? I think we see too many conversations get into really tricky areas because they're navigating around, I'm not sure, what am I saying? What am I not saying? Whenever you're in a conversation that perhaps it's going to be difficult for someone else to receive and also difficult for you to share, for you to say, if you're not clear about where you're heading and why, it's really easy to get lost in some of the emotions. So I think there's such an important role here for us individually to go, okay, what is it I'm seeking to achieve here? Why? And then thinking about how do I best communicate that in a simple and concise manner, as opposed to the waffle that we can get lost in.
Yes, yeah. The more we can stay very specific about what it is we want to see different, and this is where we really need to focus on the behavior and not the person. What we know is when people feel criticized personally, they will tend to be far more defensive, far less able to hear what's going on. So if we can talk about what needs to be different in terms of that behavior change we'd like to see or we know is necessary for them, then they're more likely to be able to go, they're more likely to be able to focus in on, okay, that's what I need to do differently, as opposed to I'm being made wrong or bad myself.
Yeah, I think that ties nicely into the next piece, is really looking at there's the preparation of what and why, then it's how do I show up? How do I communicate? What's going on for me? I think we have to take care of our own state first. If we show up all stressed and kind of angry or worried, then that's really going to influence how the other person hears us, receives us, and their state of being. If you're stressed and worried and anxious, immediately, it doesn't matter what you say, the other person is going to feel that and then is going to mirror that state, and because their assumption is there's something to be stressed and worried and anxious about.
Yeah, so the more that you can get conscious of your own state and know where you're coming from, the easier it is to have a constructive conversation, to have a conversation where the other person feels as though you're really in there with them, sharing something that's important. And again, here, it's not about looking for the cheap shot or looking for the way in which to shame or blame someone. It's so easy when we're triggered or we're kind of in that raised state, and which can often happen in the instance that we see something that's unacceptable or we don't like or we don't want to experience in our workplace, that we end up wanting to really kind of judge or persecute the person who's done the wrong thing. But that state is not helpful here, and it really isn't helpful if we want to communicate well. So noticing your own state, and if for some reason you are highly triggered or sort of escalated, just taking some time out or saying, I need to come back to this in, maybe it's 10 minutes, maybe it's a walk around the block, maybe it's a cup of tea, whatever you need to do so that you can come from this neutral place. And then that immediately, once you've dropped down into a more neutral state, it will actually make it easier for the other person to listen and to receive what the message is you want to deliver to them.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Faye, around, we want to make it safe for the other person to receive the message. The minute they're in an activated state, the minute they feel like there is something at stake here, immediately that's when this defend attack energy can be created, which is again really unhelpful in terms of working towards an agreed or collaborative outcome. So I think the more that we can manage our own pace, we can't control how others respond. We can only control how we show up and how and how our state of being. So yes, it's about preparation, but I think that piece around who are you being and how are you showing up is really important. I think the final piece that we really want to hold is have this positive intent. To your point a moment ago, it's really easy to make assumptions around other people's intentions and other people doing the wrong thing. Interestingly, we tend to assume that of others, but we tend to orientate and assume that our intent is always positive. So I think it's really useful to hold positive intent for the other people in the situation, but a positive intent for the conversation as well. I think when we're having a conversation to blame someone or shame them or make them wrong, that is unhelpful. And that dynamic you can immediately feel as we talk about that, that immediately kind of, dissipates and kind of says nothing good is going to come from that. So the more that we can hold a positive intent for our outcome, which kind of circles back to our first point around being really clear about the better the conversation is going to go.
Yeah, so really, this is probably one of my favorite pieces of, coaching advice or mentoring or anything is if you need to deliver a message to someone that is potentially going to be upsetting to them, or they're maybe going to have something shown to them they possibly didn't even realize was going on, or they didn't realize wasn't landing well, wasn't working well, or that they, maybe did, kind of the wrong thing in a certain situation. If your intent is to actually share something valuable with them, to really hold them in positive regard and to hold the message in positive regard, it will have all sorts of really beneficial ripple effects. They will feel validated and heard because you're not trying to make them wrong, but you're really trying to explain something. And you'll feel better about delivering the message. The message will actually be easier to deliver because you're holding them in good regard. You're thinking of them as a whole person, not this particular behavior that maybe is not something that you like or you think is appropriate. And I think this ties in very well with the idea of purpose. If we know why we're having the conversation, but also sometimes how that links more broadly to purpose, either of our team or our organization, or even, if it's a family dynamic, how do I do something that actually links back to actually, this is the way we like to operate here. This is why we think this is important as a team. This is the values that we've said are important, or this is the, this is the purpose that we've said we're all here for. So when we can link it back to that, very often that's a great place because again, it's a neutral reference point that people can join in and you can collaborate together in, this is what we want to create together.
Yeah, it's a nice place to end. So if you've enjoyed today's conference conversation, feel free to share this with your network or tag someone in your network who could benefit. I think we could all benefit from, this piece on how to challenge with confidence. And of course, if you'd like to go deeper with your relationship with confidence, please visit our website, coreconfidence.com.au.